Okay, we'll call a meeting for August, Bennington School Board, August 5th. First of all, Richard Bump, our secretary, called me up about a half hour before I arrived and said he had something, emergency came up, and he just wanted any handouts that are given today, he'd like a copy of, and he'd like a piece of paper passed around for anybody that's not sitting at the table, so he can put it in as attendance. And he'll do the minutes off the DVD from Cat TV like he's done before. Okay, so just so everybody understand that. So if we could get a piece of paper, okay. First item on the agenda is citizens' comments. Oh, meeting without citizens' comments. All right. Secondly, we were supposed to have, and if Lori Cohen comes, we'll put her on right away, but George had asked me to contact her. She's a former BSD school board member, and she was the last individual to serve on the RED committee, which was one that looked at unifying all the school districts and the supervisory union into one board, and hopefully she'll come. If not, I'll have to extend another invitation to her.
Are they meeting yet?
None yet.
Okay. No, there's not even people. I think the superintendent wants us to start naming people.
Some of the boards have named people that to be on the committee.
Now, the task list, I don't know if anybody has one from 2 months ago. Does anybody generate a task list?
I have a task list.
Okay.
All right. So
It's right there.
we wanted information for the board on the estate fund and the memorial fund from Renee.
That was for George, yes.
Yeah.
The scholarship.
And
fund.
is that what we got in the email that we
I
have
have
right here?
information on it
Okay,
tonight.
so that was done.
Is that it?
No, and we, Lori Cohen, that you had invited her, get a report about third grade reading level you requested
Yeah. Probably, I'll have to get that next time.
next time, okay.
Okay, schools, all right.
And IDs for board members. That was something,
Name tags.
You mean-
it says that Jean was doing it.
But we're going to do them for all boards, so.
Okay, all right. And do you have a new sheet for me that I
I
can?
do.
Thank you.
Pass
Just
that.
pass that down, that'd be great.
Pass it over. Thank you. Okay, we first under finance and facilities, treasurer's report for June enclosed, and the July will be posted later. Okay, can we have a motion to accept the treasury report for June?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Second, technology lease with Municipal Leasing Corporation enclosed. Are we gonna get any information, Mr.?
Hopefully, it wasn't enclosed?
Yeah, it is.
It was, yes, it's with the agenda.
Yeah, I mean,
No, there's a
There's a packet for
there's a whole packet thing.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I mean, sometimes they just give us a quick,
I will, yeah. Frank can-
this is the one that you had called me about getting that bid in early, so we get more units.
This is, we went out to bid, this is part of your long-range plan, that this is a lease that was budgeted in FY16 this year. And when Frank put out the bid, the prices came back significantly better. So we are purchasing more units than we expected to purchase, and you're pushing them down to what grade level?
We will make them available for grades 2 through 5. So what it essentially does, the original plan that you had approved a couple years back, we're aiming towards a one-to-one scenario with devices, one-to-one devices for the students. And I think this year's cost, that original plan was going to be $114,000 or something. And when we were working out the budget for this coming year, I was asked to try to keep everything below $100,000. And then when I put out to bid, the prices per unit came down significantly, as Rich just said, from roughly $275 a unit to $200 a unit. So we were able to increase the number of Chromebooks we were going to buy to accelerate getting to that one-to-one place. So the money that we spent this year, we're in it sooner than we had hoped, and that's a good thing. And we should be able to, may possibly be able to be one-to-one this coming year by including the technology that we still have that's still working. I'm probably saying more than I need to, but essentially, we got a better deal. We've added the equipment. As was predicted, prices did come down and quality did go up. And these have been a great boon to the kids. Yes, Jack?
Are we gonna, we don't need to go back and train anybody on these, right?
Everybody should be trained.
They're the same as last year?
Yeah.
Same type of machine?
Yes.
And do we still have the ones from last year?
Yes.
And are they all working?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
It made it really easy to do the SBAT testing by using these devices.
Yeah.
I think Jim and all the other principals were back.
Absolutely.
So we're able to go down all the way to the second grade, everybody will have their own individual unit.
Yes, and still actually spending less money than what I was asked to. We didn't go to the cap, so
So,
good.
I move that we,
the motion that I would like you to move
okay,
is to approve the lease with municipal leasing consultants and authorize the chair to execute all necessary documents.
so moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Finally getting there.
We got to the second
Been fighting
grade.
this for 5 years.
Okay, so select contractor to perform energy performance contract.
So hopefully you all recall that we've talked about this a couple of meetings. Mike Davy from EEI made a presentation in front of you. The facilities committee met at least once.
Yeah, just once.
And thought we should go out for an RFQP, qualifications and proposal. And as you can see, we had a number of companies that sniffed around it, but ultimately only one company, Energy Efficiency Investments, bid on the project. The short story is they will do a comprehensive energy audit of actually 4 facilities, including the maintenance facility at Molly Stark, and provide that to you with a proposed performance contract plan, which is desired to be a break-even plan to pay for the debt service with the savings we'll have with energy. Once you see that audit, if you don't like it and don't want to do anything, you have to pay $2,388. If you do like it and want to do it, you don't have to pay anything.
This is throwing a wrench, but did we consider, I know we didn't consider it, but BSD owns central office? Should we be doing that too?
I thought about that a little bit.
I know you've done a lot out there.
We've done some extensive stuff. I mean, we've insulated everything. We've got new windows. Actually, that boiler's not that old.
No, it is.
10, 12 years old.
Yeah, and we've done some stuff even for bringing in air and stuff too.
I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's going to add anything or improve the project at all.
Okay.
And I think we're, over time, we've been whittling away at that.
Okay, it just dawned on me when I was looking at this and there. We own that building, maybe we should be looking at it.
Rick, this amount, the total amount for this project is what's here?
For the study.
All you would commit to if you approve this tonight is $2,388. And the only time you would pay that is if when they bring you back the performance contract and you say, no, I don't want to do it, then you have to write that check. If you say, oh, if they bring you back a contract that's going to save you all kinds of energy and it's going to break even in 10 years, and you say, yeah, let's do it, you don't have to write that check.
And we have this budgeted?
No, but I could find the money.
That's what he brought up at the last
May I ask
meeting.
a question? When they did this for my house, they presented me with a list of items. And in that list, they said this would save you the most, this was, and it was by dollar amount. So they allowed me to pick and choose what items. So even if you don't have the whole amount,
If you took the time to go through the proposal that
The
was
120-something
yay
pages?
thick, you would have saw that in there, that they will work with you and they'll say, okay, we can replace all these windows at Ben L, but that's not a big payback. It's gonna cost you this and we can save that. And you guys can say, well, no, we'll try this, but you just sit there and pick and choose until you find the formula that works best for what you want to accomplish.
And you can phase it in over years,
Yeah.
because they have a couple schools doing that.
And what individual is going to be actually looking at that list and making those decisions?
We do.
It's
All of us.
I would assume the
And are
board
we
unless the
going-
board
because,
authorizes
I mean,
someone else, but
That
you're,
seems like a pretty big task, so we would do it at a meeting, like,
Probably over
Well-
multiple meetings.
okay.
You would get it and then present this to the board and we would go over it.
yeah, I mean, it's a pretty important item and you're a small enough board that I assume,
Or the facilities committee can look at it first
Yeah.
and then make a recommendation.
Yeah, 'cause I
and
feel like
the
if-
board would go over
We
it.
need to go in pretty deep detail and.
Yeah.
it's really the board's pleasure of how they want to do it. It's,
I
can be done
make a
either way.
motion, we approve it.
I second it.
More discussion by anybody?
we're only spending $2,300.
At the most,
Which
at
you
this
might
point.
not spend if you.
Might
go
not
there.
spend that, right?
If we decide to go for it, yeah. I think it's an important thing that this board needs to do.
May I ask another question? How much do we have in our budget to do some of these things?
Remember, it was gonna be a performance bond if you do that, so they're gonna guarantee savings off your utility bills versus the cost of the materials. So the hope would be that you're gonna be able to do it within your budget from your regular utility bills.
And the timeline is, the assumption is you're going to have to go to the voters on this, which is in March. So the timeline is this would take place over next summer, which will be next budget. So they will inform us of how that'll probably work through the budget process. But Jim's correct. I mean, theoretically, in a perfect world, our energy costs come down, pays for this performance bond, and we either break even or actually
It's
make
a-
some money on it.
It's a wash then, or we make money, yeah.
It has to either be a wash or make money.
And I did read quite a bit of that,
Good.
100 and something pages, and from some of the schools, we're making out pretty well. It was paying their bond.
Yep. And they guarantee it, and they won't obviously guarantee something they don't think that they can
Rick,
survive.
thinking that the board will approve it, when would this start?
The audit will start in September. We'll probably see a draft and start having conversations in October and November. But you guys need to decide how you want to manage it. Do you want the facility committee or do you want the full board? And it's totally up to you. That's separate from the motion. The motion to move forward, and you can take a couple of, meetings to figure out how you want to manage it, because
Yeah.
you've got that time. But you will have to decide how you want to manage the,
But we're not taking this to the voters this March.
that would be, that would be.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
we
it
are.
would be this month.
So they will be done, they'll be done before budget season?
Oh, yeah, they're hoping to have the audit done by November,
Oh.
first, early December at the latest.
I missed that part.
Yep, we have a.
Okay, no further, all in favor of the motion? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool beans.
Okay, the flex room, para, Does anybody need any more information on this? We heard a good presentation from the principal, vice principal.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve it for the next school year.
Okay, we have a second?
I second it.
Okay, Jackie seconds. Any more discussion? Yes?
I just want a clarification. Is this only a one-year position? Is that what you said?
Yes,
Please.
Yep.
Yeah, we're supposed to get like quarterly updates on.
1
I
year.
mean, the position is in the budget right now. It's just going to be, the job title will be reworked for this year, and we will give reports periodically to the board on the effectiveness of this position in time for review to whether you want to continue it into next year's budget.
And just for clarification of what's in the budget, and again, I apologize, I just have to, from my mind, I gotta think it through our software. We're moving the unfilled kindergarten para position to the flex room regular para position.
Correct.
Now, Rick, is that 50% reimbursed the way that's set up?
Because it's not a special ed.
Okay, all in favor of the motion?
But it wasn't reimbursed before either.
It wasn't before, no, kindergarten. But I think maybe since we're going to be working with needy youngsters, that would.
I appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is the consent agenda.
Before somebody moves that, there's another warrant in front of you. I apologize, it's a cleanup of your preschool costs for last year, $265.27. So when somebody moves it, I'd appreciate it if they would amend it to include voucher number 2002 for fiscal year 2015.
The other item that I'm passing out to you for the consent agenda is a revised nomination form for the secretary at Monument. It's an increase in the number of days from 210 to 216, which will allow the secretary to be there a week, the extra week before school starts. So that was an oversight when it was first done.
Yeah, it's not an increase, it's a correction. It was
Correction. That's why I said it was an oversight.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Okay.
I move that we approve the consent agenda
Second.
With the,
with the,
addendum.
okay?
Yep.
We have a second? All in favor of the motion? Okay. Now, does this bring us to full staff when we hire these teachers? We gotta
We are still in search of a librarian.
be
Yeah.
We've had two people that we've actually interviewed, recommended to the superintendent, and those both fell through for
Declined.
personal reasons. on
Accepted,
their-
but then declined.
We interviewed another candidate last week. That person does have some questions about certification, so they're inquiring with the Agency of Education whether they would or would not be certifiable. So that it's somewhat tenuous there, so it's still an open position for us.
Thank you for doing a good job. Okay, next, educational matters, regular education, Bennington Elementary. Good luck.
Did you guys vote on the consent?
yeah,
I think probably the most important piece of the principal's report is the summer programming. We appreciate the support that the board gave us last spring to be able to start a program to try to serve some students. Bennell actually anticipated serving 48 students when we were looking at timing of all. We had 61 students enrolled. 5 of those were no-shows, so that was a little bit disappointing. Average attendance was 37. We're attributing some of that, we think, to the lateness of programming and trying to get information out to everybody and developing programming. And interference also with some other previous commitments that families had to, 4-H camp or Girl Scout camp, Boy Scout camp, those types of things. But having said that, 42 students attended more than half of the time and 37 more than 75% of the time. So I think we had a fairly good response. We affected a lot of students in lots of ways for a fair amount of time over the summer. So we're somewhat pleased with what we had. We're hoping that we can put together some information to try to look at 21st century application as it opens in the fall.
I'm just wondering, since we were talking about the flex room students, how much, I guess, are they part of these summer programs too?
They are eligible to participate.
Do you get a lot of those students?
There are
interested?
some. I mean, because the numbers are so small, I don't want to specify
Right.
2 or 3.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I'm just,
But there are some that do attend. This summer I think was pretty successful. There were some minor problems, but not what we could have had. So I think we're being somewhat successful in the yearly programming for those students to adapt to social and educational situations. Some of them do have support in the summer programming, some do not. But all in all, it worked well, and they are eligible.
because it just seems that if you have them over the summer too, then it might help them, within the next year, the school year.
Yeah, it absolutely does, because the more exposure they can have to structured social exchanges in a positive way with a positive result, the better their experience is, and they're more able to adapt to that in a school setting.
What kind of classes did you have?
There was reading, math, physical activity, and science.
So they were all academic?
Well, they were academic focused, but they were activity based. So they were, in science, they would do some experiments with baking soda and water and inflating a balloon and those types of things. So they're.
Is there any possibility that you could include the arts now that the arts are part of the core curriculum?
We try to incorporate arts into regular activities throughout the year and in summer programming. So that.
Sometimes it
Next year
comes down
for-
to the availability of a teacher to run the program, too.
In reading class, or a reading activity next summer, or during the fall and winter activities, maybe we could try to put together a drama or developing skits or programs of that sort, which then are reading and presentation, and certainly be glad to see if we can do that.
Because I heard from a couple of music teachers that you didn't have any music offerings this summer. And music is one of those things where if you're playing an instrument, in order to keep on playing, it's very vital that you have practice during the summer.
Which has a positive impact on the whole brain development, and absolutely. But again, as Jim mentioned, availability of people and the dollar limits that we have to work with.
Yeah, we had dollar limits. I'm gonna ask, my question is, do we have after-school programs scheduled for this fall and winter?
We have not as yet, but we will be developing those, yes.
Do we have money for it? Did we,
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got
there was
that
money,
budget.
there was money in, that you have allocated.
I couldn't remember if we budgeted for that. I know that was something we were fighting for, but I couldn't remember. I know we got the summer.
I'm only filling in for a few minutes for our chairman, he'll be back. Any other questions from Jim?
Thank you.
Does that finish your report?
Unless you have questions on
Are you
other
ready for-
topics that you'd like me to address?
On these others,
I have a question.
okay, go ahead, Jackie.
What happens if you don't have a librarian by the time school starts?
I have a few thoughts that I will need to talk with Superintendent Culkeen about to see
Okay.
if they're viable or not.
And you're all ready for school otherwise?
We'll be ready when we open. And we'll make it work.
Barring any resignations between now and the start of school, which is not always that unusual.
Are
I
there,
have a problem with the
are there
rest.
candidate, going back to Jackie's question, do we have some people lined up
Last that we talked, no.
For
Library.
librarian?
the library, the people that have applied, we have screened. And
Oh, I
we-
see, and you're trying to, you've got somebody in mind, but you're checking certification.
Right.
All right.
And if that does not work, then we will have to figure something else out, or beat the bushes, trample the hills, do something to find more people.
Can't you have a para that checks in and checks out books at least?
We could do that, but we really want to have someone who can provide a program.
course.
And not just a book exchange.
But you don't want the library closed.
Right, absolutely, absolutely.
I have a question of the superintendent. You said barring any, and I'm getting on my soapboxes. Resignations. If we do get any, remind them that they signed a contract.
Right.
And they are,
So
they are,
we have the ability, if they accept a job somewhere else in Vermont.
Stay to
but-
Vermont.
But if they take something outside of the state, and that, we did experience that in one case at the end of the summer last year, and they took a job out of state. So we have no ability to prevent them from taking that job. But in Vermont, we do if they are under our signed contract. But let's hope that it doesn't happen, but, you know.
oh, it drives me nuts.
Just finished Jim's report.
Okay. So we have a written report from Molly and one from Monument. Anything on the special ed?
No, nothing's tonight,
Okay, how about any CC discussion?
other than the progress in the third classroom. Where are we on that?
Going well, actually, if it's done, it's getting close to done if it's not done.
It's almost, I think that we have some electrical work that we're doing, putting in the lighting, and rehinging a couple of doors.
And you'll have a total of 18 slots over there, between the 3 rooms, 6 in each room, so. Came out well, works now. The staff seems to like it.
And the NECC is going to send an extra teacher this year?
Yep.
And we're hiring one extra para as
Para.
well for the one-on-one.
One from, yeah.
Remember, the lady said that we should have one para for each student.
Yeah. I forget what the count, last I looked, is there, I think there's
Hiring it.
15 paras for that program?
You're hiring at least one, if
Yeah,
not,
more than that, yeah.
if not more.
They're already in place, yeah. That's, yes.
They said they needed flexibility. When the
That's their
youngster was doing the right
requirement.
thing, they bring them right into the classroom.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Nothing on policies. Committee, food service had no meeting this summer. Technology has no report at this time. SVSU, the major thing we did at our June meeting was to ratify the contract formally of the superintendent. I don't remember anything else at that meeting. Do you remember anything, George?
No, that covers it.
Okay. Next, superintendent's report.
I'm going to ask a question.
Okay, yep.
SVSU. Since we are going to go into discussing consolidation, is there a timeline the SVSU's come up with when these things are supposed to start?
We're gonna,
I'm going to discuss that in my report.
Okay.
and I was just going to say that we have talked about it at the supervisory, and Jim is gonna speak to it tonight because it just happens to be that tomorrow we have a
Road trip.
delegation going up to meet with the commissioner on this, but Jim's gonna speak to it in a minute.
Okay. So first, I want to say we did hire a replacement for Karen Brunell, our Director of Early Childhood Education, Kate Abbott. She started July 15th, and I have 2 contracts there for the chair of the SU to sign for her. And we were successful in hiring a new HR director to replace Joy Cox, who left. His name is Ed McTurnan, and Ed will be starting next Monday, August 10th. He comes with an extensive background in HR, and I'm pleased that we were able to replace that. I had concerns that we wouldn't. Vacations, July, a lot of vacations going on. Trying to get all administrators in the same place at the same time becomes difficult, but come August, it's a different story, and we had a very full agenda this week particularly for professional development. On Tuesday, we had 23 principals, vice principals, and central office administrators attend the Vermont Principal Association's summer workshop up in Killington. That was on Tuesday. The topic, the keynote speaker was a gentleman by the name of Eric Jensen, and his book is Teaching with Poverty in Mind. And it really, it stresses brain development, which was mentioned earlier, and particularly at a younger age. And it's the largest group of administrators that we've ever taken, I'm told, I wasn't here, but that we've ever attended to, and actually very well received. Every administrator has received the book with instructions to read it, and we'll be periodically discussing it at our monthly administrative meetings. Today, we took that same group up to the Equinox in Manchester and locked them in a room all day, and continued discussions on this book and using this for our goal setting for the year and what our expectations were. And then in the afternoon, we had a student empathy event. We wanted our administrators gathered there to experience what our students experience when they're struggling with something and to learn something. And it was a painting class, so we talked about the arts and how important the arts are to brain development. So I got an example here. Jim Law made the mistake of leaving his artwork on the easel when he left. So I returned it to him this evening, if he could hold that up.
I do not claim any art talent.
It's not bad.
Very nice.
So it's a fun activity, but really, they were given
Not bad.
an opening charge that when they were going through this process, think about what you're thinking, what you're experiencing, and then afterwards, we had follow-up questions, and it really addressed what are our students experiencing. And I don't know if Jim wants to speak to it, but there was frustration. There was, you want to do a good job. You don't want to be embarrassed in that group. And we saw all kinds of, Frank was there, we saw Jerry, we saw all kinds of activities. I was observing everything from people looking over to see how the other person was doing and how come they got that cloud right. I think it was a really good learning experience for everybody, and everyone needed to fill out a ticket to leave. So at the end of the process, and they had to answer 2 questions on what they felt from the experience. And I just began to read those before I came this evening, and I think it's enlightening, and it's going to continue our conversation about brain development and the learning process, the student learning process, and also, particularly to our principals, how to address a new topic with your staff. So it was a fun project, but rolling out anything from a new curriculum or a new procedure that you're going to use, hopefully we have a little bit more empathy about how the anxiety level can be raised in our staff when they're doing something they're unfamiliar with, that they don't have the skill set to properly do. And there were a couple of ringers in the room. We had a couple of really good artists that made us all look bad. But and
If I,
go ahead.
Can I just for a minute? I have a daughter who is very arts minded. I do not have art talent. But
I think
this-
it looks wonderful.
But this activity really was good for me personally in that it did raise those frustrations, those anxieties, that desire to do a good job, as you mentioned, but the skills I don't really have. But it brought me
Same
back.
things our kids struggle with.
It exactly brought that reminder back to me as this is what many of our students are dealing with all day long in the classroom. So we need to be mindful of how we pose, how we present, how we react to, how we plan for all of those needs of students and to help them to be successful. So it really was a good reminder activity of this is what it's like, folks. You know, you're adults. What's it like for an 8 or 9 or 10 or 11-year-old dealing with this, or a 5 or 6-year-old?
Well, then you got the whole point of the activity. Thank you. Tomorrow, as George mentioned, Rick and I will be leading a road trip of some of our board chairs to Montpelier, to the Vermont Superintendent's Association office for a meeting with Rebecca Holcomb of the Secretary of Education, 2 AOE staffers, the Executive Director of the Vermont School Board Association and the Executive Director of the Vermont Superintendent's Association. We have a 1-hour time slot with them, and the topic is Act 46. They asked for 3 questions to be submitted in advance, but it doesn't mean that it's limited to that. They just wanted to get an idea of where we are at. And I, after a discussion with our CFO and some board members, it seemed that on the RED study, when we did that a few years ago, one of the stumbling blocks was, how do you answer the issue of property and buildings and ownership on that? So that's one of the questions, because that's still out there. Second that we're looking for is some type of template from the state on how they see this timeline and working. What's the first step? What's the second step? We're looking for them to show the leadership necessary for where that design is. And then the third question posed is, what would be the Secretary of Education's response to board members and members of the public who say, well, we're just going to wait 5 years and see what happens? So hopefully we can ask more than that. We only have a 1-hour time slot. We have to be there at 9:30. There's another school supervisory union at 10:30 and another one at 11:30. So our road trip begins at 9:30 tomorrow morning from central office, and hopefully we'll have more information on what our next steps will be to pursue that.
And that's 5:30? If you have to be there at 9:30, you're going to leave at 9:30?
6:30, did I say we're leaving?
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a pretty good run.
Why?
Unless the Enterprise is taking you.
No, they have drones.
So, yeah, we're departing central office at 6:30 tomorrow morning for a 9:30 appointment. And then Friday, and this is something else that, you know, with Donna Leap and Laura Boudreau have put together at central office, you know, on Friday, we have many administrators beginning a course in supervision and evaluation. One of my goals here is that we have all our administrators on the same platform as we begin evaluations. So it's a hybrid course, which means some of it's online, some of it is actually in the classroom. They'll be at central office. I forget what the total count is, but there's quite a few, myself included. I will be taking that class on Friday. We'll be there all day Friday, 9 to 3, and then it goes online after that, and then I think we return back in October. So that's on supervision and evaluation. So that pretty much sums up the professional development that we have going, and other than that, preparations for opening day, and are well underway. And actually, my opening day letter to all is crafted, and I believe I have to send that to all the different principals by Monday so they can send it out with their letter. But that's my report.
Two questions. Jim, the fact that we're being televised and all that, the first day of school for students is when?
27th.
It's that Thursday, it's the
27th.
yeah.
27th
Yeah.
of August.
August 27th.
Let me, I
For
should
students.
address that, because there was
For
a...
students.
For students, yeah, this faculty returned the 24th. So there was a question about why we're going so early. I don't set the calendar by myself. By statute in Vermont, the calendar is a regional calendar centered around the tech center. So we only have so much say in it. Everything from Rutland on down to us, we're supposed to have basically the same start date, same vacation periods. We're a little bit different because we have a longer school year than just about everybody else, but we're back before Labor Day, which we have done in the past, but Labor Day is a little bit later this year, so it even seems a little bit earlier. But to get in the day count that we need to do, that's when we need to start. And as I repeat, it's a regional calendar, which is directed by Vermont statute, and then we have to submit that jointly to the Secretary of Education to show that it is a regional calendar. We can't just do our own calendar in isolation.
Could I make a request, Jim, that the final revised calendar be sent to all board members?
Yep.
Could you?
Sure. I'll put that on my task list. Thank you.
And the other point I'd like to speak to for a minute, on this Act 46, I know that Jackie and other board members are very much interested in this. So, Ken, I'm saying that even prior to you people getting back from the meeting, that this board should be ready to go and get involved in this Act 46. And I know that
Yeah.
others have asked for it, so I don't think we should be waiting for whatever comes, but I think that we ought to go ahead and get going on this thing.
I'd also like to comment. You know, we just went through the discussion about Efficiency Vermont, and I think it's like the same thing. The committee should pinpoint places where we could save money or by combining efforts, and then bring that back, and we pick and choose the things that we can do, rather than saying we have to do this. The amount, as I read it in the newspapers, the amount that the taxpayer saves is enormous. So I think we need to do due diligence on this and kind of put aside our little kingdoms and let the taxpayer have relief on the taxes.
Well, I don't think anybody on this board is against that, but it's not us. It's not just us.
No.
And
It's never been us, and I was
And
on
it's-
the, I was
and
on
it's-
the red committee the last time we tried it, and it was never Bennington.
and when we went to these meetings before, and I was involved in them 12 years ago. And we had study circles, the whole thing with the community and everything. And we come up with a huge list of savings, or where we could, things would be more efficient and consolidated. And we just couldn't get it off the ground, so.
Well, it wasn't too public. So maybe, just like we had the union negotiations become more successful this year because they were televised and made public, we should do that with this.
Well, they
There would be open meetings, yeah.
They would have to be open meetings, yeah.
Yeah, and we're gonna be on, who's on the committee? I mean,
Well, you
that-
had
Chair
asked,
wants the point.
you had asked that you wanted to be on.
I do, that's why I'm asking again.
And Jackie had asked,
I think the entire board ought to be on it.
well, yeah, it doesn't make any difference to me, whoever
Yeah.
wants.
Yeah, I definitely want to be on it. I was on, last time I was on the board, I was on the
So
red committee.
sorry, I was writing this, so. is
So
there another
it's
task we
you-
should-
And Jean, you don't need me.
I'll s-
What?
I got, well, I'll send the pen over in a second.
I think you're right. I
Yes,
think
yep.
we should all be on it.
Yeah,
We'll discuss it on the whole ride back after we hear what the Secretary of Education has said. We have that 2.5-hour ride back to formulate our plan.
Okay.
And when will we hear about that?
Concrete tomorrow, so.
Are you going to let us know at the next meeting, or?
And it
How-
might
how will
warrant
we-
that we
how will
might
we up
have
to
to be,
date?
it could be a special meeting for all who are interested too, with whatever information.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to that idea either. But
Okay.
we don't have other agenda items get in the way of this,
Okay.
maybe jointly with some of the other boards.
Thank you. At the end of the chair's report, on September 1st, at the CDC, the Vermont School Board Association is going to have their regional meeting. Okay, once again, September 1st, at the CDC, their meeting hall, the Vermont School Board Association will have their regional meeting. If you're interested in going, and they're going to be talking mostly about this new act as well. And Nicole Mace, our new director of the VSBA, is a lawyer, and she's been always handling our legal stuff, so she knows the ins and outs of this new law. So it'd be worthwhile. You should go on vsbavt.org, which is the site for the Vermont School Board Association, and register, because it'll start at 5 o'clock, it'll start with a light lunch, and then they'll proceed for 2 hours of information and training for us.
What's the date again?
September 1.
And where?
The CDC Assembly Room.
You know that,
Oh, so
right
it's
up, you walk up the nice stairs there at the CDC?
VSBA.
Another date, October 22 and 23, the annual meeting of the Vermont School Board Association will be held at Lake Maury. Okay, that's up on the east side off 91 in Vermont. I'll tell you again, it's worthwhile. There's several hundred school board members from the state of Vermont. It's good to talk with them and learn. And again, if you're interested, what you do is you see, I think it's Mary Lee.
Mary Lee.
Yep.
Tell Mary Lee you're interested, she'll make the reservations at the hotel, and you'll be all set. The School Board Association will send you the paperwork ahead of time. And again, it's really worthwhile if you have the time. Again, October 23, 2 and 3, that's a Thursday and a Friday. And one more thing, I was watching Channel 3 this evening. And again, this is our good legislators, Act 166, the pre-K. Many parents are really getting upset because in the pre-K, this new Act 166, all these new requirements of highly qualified and all of this stuff. So these people who thought they were going to get a good deal getting all this free early ed, they find out that to get this type of individual, these daycare centers have to up their prices. So a lot of them have up to $3,000 for the year. And these people were saying, well, gee, I thought the state was paying it. They said they are paying it, but the problem is the requirements of a certified teacher and all these different things are killing us, so we have to go. So that's a big loophole, and they had someone from the Department of Education on TV there saying they're gonna work into it because the regs weren't there. They passed this law without any specific regulations, so. And I think it'd be hard to tell the daycare centers, you can't raise your fees if you require them to have a full-time qualified teacher on board when before they didn't have them, so I just wanted you to get that. No, that wouldn't affect us at our own Molly Stark, because we're all set
It
there.
would impact our partners, then.
Maybe it would impact our partners, but we do hire teachers and they go to those daycare.
Yes.
So the state doesn't pay for that?
What?
The individual has to pay the difference?
Well, a lot of them are going up, the one lady was saying $250 a month she went up. So, you know, you're talking $3,000. She says, where's my $3,000 savings? He says, well, the state's gonna send us the check, but the increase is so much that we have to pass another $3,000. So, you know, they passed the bill without the reg, so hopefully they can straighten out. I don't know.
Well, and then the program at the school should have to be by lottery.
I don't think we turn people down.
No, right now, we have openings.
I think they do a good job. We have enough qualified teachers, and I think what we do is we hire a few extra, and they go to the satellites outside to cover that state requirement that they have a highly qualified person on board. So I think we're really doing a good job
Yeah, I
here.
think
Well, if they
that's
don't have to pay the salary, then why are the
They
price?
don't, but up north, they do. They're
Oh.
private daycare centers.
What's happening is, with the regulations that went in place for the qualifications of a teacher, they had to raise the salaries to attract those people. So what he's saying is that $3,000, up to $3,000 stipend or voucher that would go there is being erased by the increases in salaries to attract
Thanks,
those
Jim.
teachers. And back to the openings in our program, it's really more reflective of the amount of hours our programs are open, where a lot of parents are looking for longer days, and so they're not taking the slots always in our own programs because it's a shorter day.
But the cost increase is not affecting our parents.
Of our own programs, no.
Right, so that, I mean, that's what I hope
Except that
people
our day
hear.
isn't as lengthy, so it isn't for everybody.
It is VSB.
No, but it was mostly the complaints from up in the Burlington area in Essex that the parents are,
Well, I'm glad you qualified that, because anybody listening would be,
your question answered it, yes, thank you. Okay, that's all I have.
One other item, Ken.
Okay.
I asked at the last meeting pertaining to the couple of scholarships, and I did get, Renee sent me the copies. I will see that their photostats are made and sent to each individual board member that gives you the history and the background of these scholarships that we see all the time on the warrants. So I got it, and I'll see that you get them just as quick as I can get Jim's office to push them out to you, along with the calendar, maybe.
Yes?
Okay.
Do you want me to?
is this where I ask
Trust me
my
to take
question
those
that I,
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, right now, if you have any.
now? Good. So, Jim, your ears might go up, and Jerry's ears might go up on this one. I read in the paper this past week or last week that you're going to benefit from the opening of the new Cumberland tomorrow, yes. And they're giving you 10 cents on every dollar that they take in.
Really?
On
That was
drinks.
in the
No, on
paper.
drinks, just on drinks.
Great. Just on drinks?
I'll have to go get a drink there tomorrow.
So,
was actually at the thing.
People are thirsty.
Handed it to the PPG, represented parents and the school, and they came over the summer. So we just have to show up for an hour around. It's gonna help benefit for the after school, better benefits for some of the after school programs that we allow us to push it forward.
I don't think he heard you. He wants you to say that to a microphone.
Want to come up here and sit down, Jerry, so the public can hear you?
Eileen Jewett, one of our after-school, or summer school teachers, as she said, she's a parent for third grade, or for kindergarten, runs a science project, and she was in there, and they asked her about, we want Bennington Elementary to be part of this, our opening thing, so we can actually promote and give money towards your after-school programs. So she came to me, we talked about it, about doing it, and I wasn't sure how we were gonna go about it, so I thought maybe if we included it as like a parent-teacher group type thing with the school, and we have to go tomorrow for an hour, and then she's gonna be there to represent our school, and any money we make, like 10 cents for every, it's like a Slurpee, whatever, will go towards our after-school programs. So it's a way to help fund some of our after-school programs that we take into the fall.
You can use that for scholarships and stuff like that if we.
Yeah, pretty much most of our kids get scholarships already, but it helps supplies to teach, that they have, or then we could use it towards scholarship, because we don't usually get a lot of money coming in. We get very little money in that regard.
so my question is, when money comes into a school from a private donation, how is that money recorded and then, recorded and then reported? The reason I ask this question is I wouldn't want anybody in a school accused of having a slush fund. So, for instance, I donated some money to Molly, and will I know if that gets used up, that type of thing.
Well, that's what we thought through the PTG. Right, what do you want to answer that?
If it's a donation to the school, it gets deposited into the school's checking account, which gets monitored by central office on whatever interval, they monitor that. I mean, I know annually they do it. I think I've seen.
You're talking the activity account?
The activity account, right. At some periods of time, it's been like a monthly, then it's been semi-annual, then, it goes back and forth, whatever Rick determines.
There's multiple layers of gifts, for lack of a better description, to the schools. If it's to the PTG, we have no oversight, control, knowledge. Maybe I shouldn't say no, you may have some.
Right.
Very little, and it's not school district money, and it's not.
But that would be designated PTG,
Right.
not Bennell School.
If it's a activity account transaction, which is typically clubs or different groups within the school, again, it's not really Bennington School District money. We are the fiduciary agent for those dollars. And Jim is correct. There's protocols and procedures in place where the administrators and the secretaries manage those books. We balance those books once a year at the central office, and the auditors audit those books once a year at the central office. They're not our dollars, but we are the fiduciary agents for those dollars. Then the third set is actually controlled by the school board. So and this has happened periodically, not a lot here, it happens a lot at Mount Anthony, where someone will donate $500 to the school. The board has to actually accept that money and any restrictions that may be associated with that money, if any. There may be none, but frequently there are some. So they take formal action, and then we track them in your accounting system for proper expenditures based on the restrictions that were given.
Well, maybe you could point out that page for me, because I've never seen it. But
Which page?
Where everything is tracked.
It's in your audit. I still don't know what you mean by which page.
Well, which page in the audit?
Okay.
because what we want in schools is as much transparency as possible. Also, as I read Act 46, one of the things that they're trying to do is, and I don't think they'll ever do it, is level schools, so to speak, that there's no rich schools and poor schools, that everybody has equals amount. And I don't think that will ever happen until all teachers get the same salaries per level. Anyway, that's my question.
Did you have a question too about the beautification program, like they were doing up in Shaftesbury? Remember they applied for some funds and they're gonna fix up the
Oh,
front
yes,
of the
it was a
building?
grant.
Grant,
Yes, I read in Shaftesbury School that they applied for a grant, and again, I think it was through the PTSA. And it was,
Oh, yeah, that was in the paper.
it was in the paper.
Yeah.
And it was for outside beautification. And you have up until another couple of months to apply for it. And so I was wondering if any of the schools applied for it.
Because they actually have teams going to paint and do
Yeah.
some other things on the
Signage,
outside.
put new signage up.
It would save us considerable amount of money.
Okay, anything else? Okay, task list review. Any important items on that task list?
Right now, I just have the final revised calendar of the school here to be sent to everybody.
Put me on there, I'll get you all the grants and gifts information out of the audit from the last audit.
Okay. So,
Invite Lori Cohen again, too.
okay.
No, it was there in case I needed it, but we don't need it this evening.
She's gonna add, invite Lori Cohen to the next meeting.
Okay, I'll invite her again.
Ken's doing that? Okay.
Well, how about also explore grants for outside beautification?
Explore.
Maybe someone can get a hold of the principal at Shaftesbury School.
I can do that, yep.
Mr. Johnson, and see where he...
I'll be seeing him Friday.
Okay, that'll be good.
He's riding him. You have 2 hours.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else? Seeing none, a motion to adjourn then?
To executive session.
No, there's none, I just asked him. He's there in case you need it.
Okay.
Oh, he's
I thought I was gonna need it, but.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Unanimous? Okay, adjourn.
And donations
Okay.
in the